Hello everyone and welcome to Daniel 11. This is going to be a relatively short video. Reason being, I am actually not going to go through many of the verses in this chapter because I have not done the research to understand what it is talking about during the intertestamental period involving Greece and Egypt. So I'm going to, if you guys are interested in doing that research, leave that ball in your court. What I am going to do is build off of the information that we have already gone through regarding Medo-Persia, Greece, and the fourth beast, because those are the kingdoms that are related to Daniel 11. In Daniel 11, it says, "Also I, in the first year of Darius, whatever his name is, the Mede, even I stood to confirm and to strengthen him." So this is obviously going to be during the Medo-Persian Empire. As you can see, if you are unfamiliar with this chart, I have it color-coded. It starts over here in the upper left, and all of the arrows show you how it moves. So it's not very difficult to follow, hopefully. But you have Daniel 2, Daniel 7, Daniel 8, Daniel 9, and Daniel 11. And all of the imagery follows throughout the book. And I have it color-coded to help, but I also have arrows to show the relationships between the imagery and the kingdoms and the different chapters. So Babylon will be absent from Daniel 11 because they are already past the Babylonian Empire and into the Medo-Persian Empire, specifically referencing Darius the Mede. So just to show, Daniel 11 here is what this chapter is going to follow through. It's going to start with the Medo-Persian Empire and move into the Greek Empire via Alexander the Great. We were already introduced to Alexander the Great in chapter 8 when we learned about the ram with two horns, which was the Medo-Persian Empire, being overtaken by the goat with a horn between its eyes of the Greek Empire. That was Alexander the Great. So he's going to be reintroduced in this chapter also. The goat in Daniel 8 that had the horn between its eyes begat 4 other horns, of which another horn came out of, which was Antiochus Epiphanes, who created an abomination of desolation. He was the foreshadow of the fourth beast, who will be the little horn that comes up among the 10 horns, who will also create or commit an abomination of desolation. Said abominations of desolation by said people are referenced in Daniel 11, as you can see. So the imagery in Daniel 8 is very closely related to the imagery in Daniel 11. That is why I created this chart, to give a visual reference to help people see the relationships to all of the imagery in Daniel and how they repeatedly refer to the 4 kingdoms from the statue in Daniel 2. So, as I said, I'm going to not read through a lot of this because it relates to a period after the Greek, in the intertestamental period, involving fights, wars, conflicts between Greece and Egypt. I haven't studied that out. That's just what that is a reference to. So let's go through Daniel 11, and I'm going to leave a blank space for you guys to do your own thing, but I'm not going to get into that. We will pick up after the intertestamental period in verse 21 and then go through the end of the chapter. So that's where we're at, is we are in the Medes and Persians, the Medo-Persian Empire, in the first year of it. Verse 2, "And now will I show thee the truth." So let's make this a little bigger so we can focus on it. "Behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia." Now, it referred to Darius the Mede in verse 1. Cyrus the Great is the king of Persia. He has already been referenced in Daniel a couple of times to this point. So after Cyrus the Great, who was a co-regent with Darius the Mede, there will be 3 others. It does not name them. If you go to the historical record, you will find this out. So it says, "Behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia, and the 4th shall be far richer than they all." That's a reference to Xerxes. By his strength through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia. Until there comes a guy who's greater than him. And a mighty king shall stand up, that shall rule with great dominion and do according to his will. That is Alexander the Great. And we learned about him in Daniel 8:5. I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth and touched not the ground. The he-goat had a notable horn between his eyes. He came to the ram that had two horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran into him in the fury of his power. And it basically said that none could deliver the ram out of his hand, etc. So anyway, Daniel 8 already talked about this. So the Daniel 11:3 reference to the mighty king shall stand up and shall rule with great dominion, shall do according to his will, is of the Greek Empire, Alexander the Great. And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken, and she shall be divided toward the four winds of heaven, and not to his posterity, nor according to his dominion which he ruled, for his kingdom shall be plucked up. Sorry, I had to pause my video for a second, so I'm going to restart verse 4, talking about Alexander the Great. When he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken and shall be divided toward the four winds of heaven, and not to his posterity, nor according to his dominion which he ruled, for his kingdom shall be plucked up even for others besides those. We move into the next. The king of the south shall be strong, that's the king of Egypt. And one of his princes, and he shall be strong above him, and have dominion, and his dominion shall be a great dominion. So this is where it moves from Alexander the Great to the king of the north, which is the Greeks in Syria, versus the king of the south, which is Egypt. Verses 5 through 20 are going to talk about the intertestamental period between Greece and Egypt. Intertestamental is the period of time between the Old and New Testaments. Between Malachi and Matthew, there are approximately 400 to 450 years. So when we're talking about intertestamental period, this is not actually going to be in the Bible. It would be available in the historical record. That is the reason why I chose not to study it, because it is not in the Bible. It is in the historical record. And I have limited my research to what is in the Bible. So it's not that it's not knowable. It's not that it's not pertinent. Daniel's clearly writing about it. But there isn't another reference in the Bible to talk about this time period that I am aware of, and if there is, I just haven't studied it. So if you are interested in the contents of Daniel 11:5 through 20, which regards the fighting between Greece, or the ongoing affairs between Greece and Egypt in that intertestamental period, have at it. I, for the sake of this video, am going to pick back up in verse 21. Because that is where we come to Antiochus Epiphanes. Antiochus Epiphanes was already discussed in Daniel 8. So let's go back to Daniel 8, for those of you who may have missed it, to talk about this. It was all this imagery here. So the goat with the horn between his eyes was Alexander the Great. After him, the horn was broken, which was him. And 4 kingdoms came out of the nation. And from the 4 horns, a little horn came out. So that takes us to Daniel 8. Daniel 8:8. Therefore the he-goat waxed very great. When he was strong, the great horn was broken. For it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven. And out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great, toward the south, toward the east, toward the pleasant land. It waxed great even to the host of heaven. It cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them. That is Antiochus Epiphanes. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. So he was the original abomination of desolator. It was the sacrifice of a pig on the altar. It made the altar unclean, so they had to like re-sanctify and all of that stuff. For 2,300 morning and evenings, so 1,150 days. 2,300 sacrifices they were not able to do. They do a sacrifice morning and evening, so 2 per day to equal 2,300 was for 1,150 days that altar was unable to be used. And host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground, it practiced, and it prospered. So then it talks about the length of time in the next verse. So let's pick up with him in Daniel 11:21 through 35. In his estate shall stand up a vile person, to whom they shall not give honor of the kingdom, but he shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flatteries. And with the arms of a flood shall they be overflown from before him, and shall be broken, yea, also the prince of the covenant. After the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully, for he shall come up and shall become strong with a small people. It sounds very similar to what we would think of the beast in the midpoint of the 70th week, but this is Antiochus Epiphanes. This is why you can see I have all of this stuff related to him in blue, which almost, it's very similar to, I want to say it mirrors because it's not the same, but it's very similar to, which is why you have him, the little horn that comes up among the 4 of the Greek Empire, being a foreshadow of the little horn that comes up among the 10. Simply because it is similar does not mean it is the same. We are not talking about the beast here. We are talking about, not the 4th beast, we're talking about Antiochus Epiphanes. So while it sounds similar, it is not the same. He is not the same person. Yet we would expect it to sound similar because it is similar. So he shall become strong with a small people. He shall enter peaceably even upon the fattest places of the province. He shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey. He shall spoil the riches. He shall scatter among them the prey and spoil and riches. Yea, and he shall forecast his devices against the strongholds even for a time. He shall stir up his power and his courage against the king of the south with a great army. And the king of the south shall be stirred up to a battle with a very great and mighty army, but he shall not stand, for they shall forecast devices against him. Yea, they that feed the portion of his meat shall destroy him, and his army shall overflow, and many shall fall down slain. And both these kings' hearts shall be to do mischief. They shall speak lies at one table, but it shall not prosper, for yet the end shall be at the appointed time. Then shall he return to his land with great riches. His heart shall be against the holy covenant. He shall do exploits and return to his own land. At the time appointed he shall return and come toward the south, but it shall not be as the former or as the latter. For the ships of Chittim shall come against him, therefore he shall be grieved and return and have indignation against the holy covenant. So shall he do, he shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the holy covenant. Arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength. That is talking about Antiochus Epiphanes, the taking away of the daily sacrifices by way of the unclean offering for the period of 2,300 sacrifices, which was 1,150 days. This is not talking about the abomination of desolation at the midpoint of Daniel's 70th week. This is talking about the one from Antiochus Epiphanes mentioned in Daniel 8. Arms shall do on his part. They shall pollute the sanctuary of strength. They shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate. And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries, but the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits. They that understand among the people shall instruct many, yet they shall fall by the sword, and by flame, by captivity, and by spoil many days. Now when they shall fall, they shall be holpen with little help, but many shall cleave to them with flatteries. And some of them of understanding shall fall, to try them, to purge, to make them white, even to the time of the end, because it is yet for a time appointed. So now you move into the guy who is almost identical, but not. You move into, from the Antiochus Epiphanes abomination of desolation, to the abomination of desolation that will be front and center at the midpoint of the 70th week. You move from the Daniel 8 guy to the Daniel 9, in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate. This is how Paul described the revelation of the man of sin, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. See, Antiochus Epiphanes offered an unclean animal and polluted the altar. But this guy, he's going to go into the altar, he's going to go into the temple and sit on the altar, or rather the mercy seat, and declare himself to be above all that is called God. He's going to stop the sacrifice and the oblation by reason of desolating it, making them flee. So while it is similar, it is not the same, yet Antiochus Epiphanes was a foreshadow of the beast in that they both committed an abomination of desolation. Regardless, the actual abomination of desolation is starkly different between the two. One was a sacrifice of a pig on the altar, and the other was a guy declaring himself to be above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he as God sits in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. And that is where we pick up in Daniel 11:36 with a transition between the Greek Empire to the fourth kingdom, the fourth beast, who is Revelation 13:5. To him was given a mouth speaking great words and blasphemies, and power was given over him. Gotta read it. There was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. Power was given unto him to continue 42 months. He opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. Daniel 11:36. The king shall do according to his will. He shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished. Read, be given power to continue 42 months, for that is determined shall be done. Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women. That's a reference to Jesus Christ. It was the desire of all Jewish women to be the mother of Christ. Nor regard any god, for he shall magnify himself above all. But in his estate, meaning in his form, he shall honor the God of forces, and a God whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold and silver, with precious stones and pleasant things. Thus shall he do in the most strongholds with a strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory, and he shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain. Yes, the land will be divided for gain, just not at the beginning of the 70th week. It will be divided for gain at the midpoint of the 70th week. This is precisely what the judgment in the Valley of Decision in Joel 3 is all about. The judgment in the Valley of Decision is the treading of the winepress, is Armageddon. Joel 3:1. For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them for my people and for my heritage, Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. That is specifically the reason for Armageddon, is the parting of the land and their treatment of Israel, but that's a separate conversation. Daniel 11:39 very clearly tells us that after the abomination of desolation, there will be a parting of the land. They will be judged for parting the land, per Joel 3. And at the time of the end shall the king of the south push at him, the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind with chariots, with horsemen, and with many ships, and he shall enter into the countries, and shall overflow and pass over. He shall enter also into the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown, but these shall escape out of his hand, even Edom and Moab and the chief of the children of Ammon. There is a prophecy in Numbers 24 that tells us why Edom, Moab, and Ammon will escape out of the hand of the beast during the 70th week. And the reason is because Jesus gets to deal with them all on his own. The beast will not be permitted to do so. Numbers 24, verse 17, there is a prophecy. I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh. There shall come a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel, and shall smite the corners of Moab, and destroy all the children of Sheth. And Edom shall be a possession, Seir also shall be a possession for his enemies, and Israel shall do valiantly. Out of Jacob shall come he that shall have dominion, and shall destroy him that reigneth of the city. When he looked on Amalek, he took up the parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he perisheth forever. So Edom, Moab, Ammon, and Amalek will be perishing by the hand of the star that riseth out of Jacob, the scepter, Jesus, the line of the tribe of Judah. That is why they are allowed to escape out of the hand of the beast in Daniel 11:41. He shall stretch forth his hand also upon the countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape. But he shall have power over the treasures of gold and of silver, and over all the precious things of Egypt, and the Libyans and the Ethiopians shall be at his steps. But tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy, and utterly to make away many. And he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain, yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. Read, he shall be cast into the lake of fire. Read, his body shall be given to the burning flame. So Daniel 11 shows the transition between the Medo-Persian Empire, specifically with the 4 Persian kings, the last of which is Xerxes, who is overtaken by Alexander the Great, shows the transition between the Medo-Persian Empire and the Greek Empire. And then it goes into the intertestamental period where the king of the north and the Greeks in Syria, the king of the south, Egypt, and all that stuff that is not described specifically to my knowledge in the Bible, but it is available in history. And then it moves to Antiochus Epiphanes, who was a foreshadow of the 4th beast. And it actually contains both of their abominations of desolations, because it moves from the foreshadow into the last guy. So it basically shows the relationship between Daniel 8, Daniel 11, and then Daniel 7 and 9 with the little horns. Antiochus Epiphanes, again, the little horn that came up among the 4 horns of the Greek Empire. Whereas the beast, the 4th beast, the Revelation 13 guy, is a little horn that comes up among the 10. So they're very similar, not the same, but it's going to it's going to show both of them by showing their abominations of desolation. How they are similar, not the same, but one is a foreshadow of the other. So it uses the abomination of desolation from Antiochus to transition into the abomination of desolation from the 4th beast. That's what you see in these verses in Daniel, specifically 11:31 through 36. 31 is the abomination of desolation by Antiochus Epiphanes, and Daniel 11:36 is the abomination of desolation by the 4th beast. So it uses the abominations of desolation as a transition point between the 3rd and the 4th empires, the 3rd and the 4th beasts. Can be a little confusing, but hopefully this chart helps. If you guys have any questions or comments, let me know. I am not going to go through Daniel 12 tonight. I will try to get to that tomorrow, and I will do it in a live stream. So I'll leave this here for you guys. Like I said, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will wish you a good evening. Take care.